Greetings and welcome. My name is Mike Bankhead. I am your host. I am a bass player and songwriter from the Gem City, Dayton, Ohio. This is episode 128, and my guest is Justin Allen Payne, a songwriter and musician currently based in Nashville. From this conversation, I think you'll see this is a songwriter, and a deep thinker. It'll be a good time on the You Could Be My Aramis podcast. And if you are listening to this in the middle of August 2026 and you're from Dayton, he's coming to play a show in our city this weekend, and you'll get the details here. Let's get to the conversation, shall we? Hey there, Justin.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Another day, Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Why are we talking?
I am coming to Dayton to play at Blind Bob's on August 16th.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We'll start our conversation with that, and we'll end our conversation with that, and invite people to come see it. This is a Sunday. You're playing Bob's. How much is the door?
$10.
$10. Where are you from? Like this? I mean, you don't live here, so.
Yeah, I'm originally from Newark, Ohio, just outside of Columbus.
Yeah.
And then I went to college in Bowling Green, Ohio, and spent some time up there after school. Did private teaching, string instruments, subbed in some orchestras, worked at a diner, met my wife. Been living in Nashville for 8.5 years now, in East Nashville with my wife, Miranda. Yeah, mostly just gigging and recording and networking and just expanding my business down here with all the resources that are available.
Recording artist and touring artist. You know how I know that you've been gone from Ohio for a long time is you didn't say NERC.
That's right. NERC.
I'm a lifelong Ohioan, so I'm familiar with the pronunciation of most of our cities.
Yeah.
We will be glad to see you in Dayton.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Blind Bob's. It's been almost probably 9 years now.
The last time you were here, had you written the song Sunset Express?
No, I had not.
I'm thinking about the first line, right?
Yeah. I guess I was kind of feeling at that time in my life like I was playing a lot of the same places, playing with a lot of the same people, and just felt kind of stuck creatively. And just getting out seemed like the move, like getting out to a new place, meeting new people, putting myself in different gigging scenarios, getting out on tour. I felt like I needed to experience more in order to be a better writer and performer, to make better tunes. Although I had been touring and had a band there, Justin Payne and Company, not so coincidentally, most of us moved down here around the same time. Kind of all of us had been gigging and playing in Northwest Ohio and throughout the state for years at that point, probably 5 or more years consistently. And it just felt like it was time just to grow and see new vistas. And I don't know, for me, after college in Bowling Green, I had my whole life it was pretty much the rockiest patch that I've had in my whole adult life was during that time. I worked in a kitchen, got a severe burn from that job that put me out of work for a long time. I experienced some homelessness for 6-7 weeks.
Whoa.
And, with having money problems, a hard time keeping a job, addiction issues, basically a perfect storm of negative things. I had been, bad habits and behaviors that I had accumulated in my late 20s and early 30s. And so it kind of just left me with, I've had kind of both sides of the experience there, college life and success as a local and regional musician, and also some hard times. And I think it was just a lot of that song is born out of the frustration of feeling stuck. And that was kind of Ohio was the setting for all of that and the trappings of all of that. And I just couldn't, I needed to channel some of that negativity somewhere, It had to go somewhere that wasn't inside of me, especially so much resentment towards the place I came from. And I think that song is more or less just crystallizes some of those feelings,
With those experiences, you have a never-ending source of, stuff you can reach into. to write
Yeah.
songs with.
Yeah. And that's kind of like one of my big deals is I was an academic for a long time trying to figure out what exactly I wanted to be and like what job I wanted to do. And I studied all sorts of things and felt I was really lacking as an adult in like actual visceral, like lived experiences. Like I've read about all this stuff and I ended up getting a degree in history and like being an Americanist and felt almost like remiss not to actually see the country, to
Hmm.
see all the stuff that and like experience the different cultures and places and dialects and what have you that are all throughout this huge country. And knowing I didn't feel like my knowledge was complete or like my lived experience, especially like what had barely scratched the surface. And so that's a big part of like these tours and about my writing is just to be in those places and experience those things more firsthand and have a it definitely informs my work and like enriches my life. I just came off of like an 8 week national route out west in the central states mostly. And the biggest takeaway from that so far, like now I've been home like almost a week, still somewhat recovering from that life. But the biggest takeaway is like as divided as media wants to make us, like I found like almost every person that I met, we could find common ground and just kind of meet each other halfway, which definitely gave me a different perspective than just being all up in my news feed on socials or on my phone. So I don't know. It was a humbling and enlightening experience, like always, not without peril, doing a lot of this traveling on my own. My wife does come to visit for a handful of dates, but for the most part, it's just me and my guitars out there and my songs.
There's a certain kind of throwback romance to the bard, the traveling songwriter taking
Hmm.
music to the people.
Yeah. No,
So,
I get off on that.
I mean, I would love to do that myself someday. I just don't have the circumstances yet. You said you've been in Nashville 8 years, right?
Yeah, about a little over 8 years. Yeah.
Talk about what the transition is like, because that is, as you know, I'm sure most of the listeners are other musicians, but if you're not, Nashville is one of the big time music industry towns.
Hmm.
It's one of the places where a lot of people move there specifically to find their way in the music business, to
Yeah.
look for bigger and better opportunities. And it's you don't have to move to an industry town to make a living
No,
doing music, but
no.
it is a common path and it can be very helpful. However,
Yes.
the challenge in a place like Nashville is there's so much talent.
Right.
How do you stand out when everybody can play?
That's a good question. It's really about finding your people, and you're more or less surrounded by people involved in the industry or musicians themselves. Here it's almost everyone I'm friends with is in some way involved, either as an engineer or as a musician or as fiddle player or as backup singer or their agents that book or their management teams. The first few years was just a matter of checking out all the spots, playing them if I can. Open mic nights were a big thing, still are. Even, open mic nights here, everyone there is incredible and their songs are really good. And it's like the best place that I have found in my journey that fits me the best, I think, just for like networking amongst other folkies, other people with like that passion for poetry and songwriting like I have. And tons of people who've, been there and done that and been all over the country and like know it's like 1 degree of separation. Like, oh, that guy in Wichita. Oh, I know, I've heard of this guy, could you maybe make the connection, et cetera. Um, I kind of felt like I made a lot of new friends in all these different aspects. And the songs kind of lead, like as far as who you hang with, who, might not be into it, et cetera. You just got to be putting yourself and your songs out there as much as possible. And I mean, at this point, I've done a lot of different avenues. I've made like a handful of music videos professionally, and I've done like radio and podcasts here, like independent, like low power FM around the area as well, playing as many of the clubs in East Nashville and throughout town as I can. Learn pretty quick, like what fits you and what doesn't. And I don't know, I'm a bit older, I'm in my 40s. I've been doing this for like 20 some years, like touring, writing, performing, all these different bands I've been in. And for me, it's like the downtown hustle, like the cover band thing isn't really, there's a lot of good to that and there's a lot to learn from that. And it's just not really like the gear that I've been in the past handful of years. Like When I came here, I had just made my first like full length LP, Season of Loss, in Ohio, in Sandusky, with some friends in the Toledo and Sandusky area. Within a year, had made friends that record at some of the studios I wanted to get into, and met them through bars, through clubs, through other friends, and that turned into making my next few records here. And then I started a collaborative project with another friend who's also a songwriter, which is my first major collaborative project, Rough Lovers. Got around to making my most recent solo record, Moonflower, with like some hot Nashville session musicians, and that came through friends. And my friend Jeremy, who's the engineer I've been working with pretty exclusively the past like 5 or so years now. It's all just come from the hustle, mostly just getting out there and singing and, sharing mostly just my stuff. I've been very fortunate to meet like an inordinate amount of amazing musicians and people. The hardest thing here is finding people that are available because
Yeah.
everyone's working all the time. I'm trying to book a couple shows in October for when I get back from this upcoming tour here in Nashville. And I'm doing that in July and like late June, just to like get a lock on their schedules. So it's like a new, you get a new set of problems. Unlike not having enough outlets, you have so many, and it's like it's more about piecing through what fits and like who are like my people that like vibe and like understand what I'm trying to do. Because you can find an agent or an agency or anything like that here pretty easily. It's just, is it really interested in what you're doing? Is it going to help promote like why you're here and why you play, and do they share that passion for the art that you have? And so it's taken me like many years to like weave through those, work with a few, end up not and opting out. Does this publicist work? No. I find that it's better for my ROI if I do most of my own publicity, or like partner with like yourself and other like local media outlets and the places I come through to like boost things that way. A lot of trial and error, honestly, just in an environment where you're surrounded by some of the best resources you can get your hands on. I'm a big stickler for analog everything. Like, I love physical media. I'm old. Like, I grew up with LPs and cassette
Me
tapes.
too.
So that's just kind of always been my vibe. And, notably, like the only run of CDs I've made in the last like 10 years, I sold out in this last tour, which is,
Nice.
that's awesome. Thank you. I'm really proud of that. It's like an older EP called High Water, and my first ever thing to be out of print. So now, that's something I can figure out after this tour, is maybe like re-recording that or remastering that or something in those veins, to vinyl. I like to record to tape and use like the old school like analog recording mixing
Nice.
processes, just like back in the day.
Cost more.
Yeah, and I'm really, it does. That part is definitely like a labor of love when it comes to like the hit it puts on my budget. It's like, but I feel like at this, especially at this stage of my life and my career, like sticking true to my values is like one of the things that does separate me as like an individual artist in the sea of just absolute talent. It's about the little choices you make, and the choices you make with your art. I have a hard time with like staying in a lane like genre wise.
I've
So that's
noticed.
another thing that kind of like helps me stand apart here is I'm not just like a neo folky. I'm not just an alt country dude. I'm not just an indie rocker. Like, I like to be in all those lanes, and if the art speaks for it. And I don't know, as a creative and like as the writing and like production side of it, I don't know, I concern myself a lot less with trying to sell the song in a certain genre or get it like a certain like kind of like higher accessibility if it compromises the tune, if it compromises the arrangement or the art or whatever. That's more for the executives to decide, like, where does this song go? How do we sell that? I found that especially now with like the algorithms and like their tendency on socials, and how a lot of our promotions and marketing have been moved exclusively to the behest of these algorithms that like they want consistency, repetition, and oftentimes negativity to like pierce through and get more viral views. But that's just not really who I am as like a personality. So I've just learned that a lot of the old school methods are like hot again suddenly, like actually being in that city with your records to sell people physically after you charm them with your set has been like far more of a real thing that I can work with and like actually measure progress. against than like, how many hits I got on a post or whatever.
So since you mentioned your genre fluidity, this is I always like to talk to songwriters about their process because no two of us do it the same way, and we all
Right.
manage to get to the same place.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the process from when you start to write a song, you write the song, and then you have to make a decision. Is this a me song or is this a rough lover song?
Right.
How do I
Yeah.
want to express it? So let's start at the beginning. When it's Justin's time to write, because as a professional, I'm sure you have specific times. I need to
Yeah,
write for this amount of time.
for sure.
What's the first tool you reach for?
Usually the first tool will be my acoustic guitar and my phone, and I'll just do a voice memo of whatever came to me. Oftentimes for me specifically, I'm sure other people share this, but like it always works out for me that I doing something else. My wife and I like to garden. A lot of my newest record came from time in the garden, for example. Like I'll be out there tending the flowers, or I'll be watering, or I'll be spraying the squirrel be gone, like cinnamon stuff around our tomatoes. And, I'll have like a melody or a rhythmic idea or a lyrical line, something that's just been marinating in the back of my head. And if the notion strikes me, I'll just immediately record that to my phone, or I'll put the hose down, walk away, grab the acoustic guitar, sit down with, make the voice memo real quick. Real rough sketch, almost always, but it's like the idea that came and stuck. And I'll collect those over time. Over a couple months, I'll end up with close to 100. And then the fun part for me, writing wise, is like a lot of it's mood and theme and like how I'm feeling in the moment. But I'm big on editing. Like make a giant pile of stuff, and then editing is like the majority of my writing time.
Yeah.
Is taking all those little pieces and just playing, really, just experimenting and playing and having fun with like, ooh, this line tends to work really well with like this rhythmic guitar thing I did a couple weeks ago. And that oftentimes the snowball just starts rolling from there. And new verses or a chorus line, or it really depends. It's never really the same thing. A lot of times I'll start with like a hook. So I guess like the chorus is like the first foot forward oftentimes, but that hook can be a musical thing. It can be a lyrical thing. I'll often just surprise myself with how they come together in the editing. Something unanticipated will become, this will be that new tune. And by and large, that's how my Justin Payne and Co. stuff and my most recent record, Moonflower, came together. It was just sketches, and particularly the newest recording, like a need for like concise simplicity. Like to take these like grander themes and ideas that had been in my heart and trying to just boil them down to the most simple poems, really, that I could. And then a Rough Lovers thing, like it's a bit different because I share that band with another songwriter, Marshall Facino, who is like incredibly good and notable in his own right. He's a cat from Wisconsin, and crazy story about it. He was like the first show I played in Nashville was with his band, and we hit it off because we both love the Replacements
Oh,
that
yeah.
evening, and like we're drinking buddies. He's a bartender at one of my favorite bars and venues here at the Villager Tavern. Just a really great friend at root. And years had passed, and eventually I got around to asking him because I kind of had a lull in what I was doing. I just released Underrated Overstimulated and was looking to like kind of change like some things with how I do business and like the kind of music I was wanting to make at the time. And there was a lot of overlap. He's a huge like power pop aficionado.
It is
And
so obvious from just a little taste.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm a huge power pop aficionado, so you can imagine me. I'm listening to this song and being like, "Yes!" And
All
then
right.
Invisible Child is completely a different genre,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
cool with. Like, I mean, I was expecting one thing from the record, and it gave me other things.
Right
So, I
on.
mean, yeah,
Yeah, for the most part, it's just trying to fit in my we have some overlap, but we're also very different writers and rockers, and so just trying to strike the balance. We worked on that record for a good part of like 3 years, trying to get because there were more songs that didn't make it. It was just more a matter of like finding the right flow, finding a good album, like a proper album, like narrative from start
yeah,
to finish for each
like the
side. And
records we grew up on, where the
exactly, yeah,
artist curates a listening experience.
right, yeah.
I
And so
love
with
it.
that, it would like bounce ideas off of each other a lot more for that kind of stuff. And I think the Memphis horns on the second tune, Invisible Child, was his idea. then Evergreen was mostly me, and it depends on the tune. Like Last Shag was a 50-50 deal. We both like to rock out and didn't really have like a proper like gritty rocker on side two. And that, I don't know, it's just sometimes writing to meet the need, or other times just having the stuff around. And I wish, my only caveat with that band is I wish we could like hang out and rehearse and play more. But we, like is the case with a lot of artists here, we all have a lot of irons in the fire and other
Yeah.
things to do. And that's why I'm
Yeah.
doing my solo tour right now. It's just a break from that whole thing the
So you're
past
not
few
playing
years.
any of the Rough Lover songs on this
Yeah,
tour,
yeah, I
are
am.
you?
I'm part of the fun challenge that I set for myself with this is to try to boil all the tunes that I had a hand in, like Justin Payne and Company material, some Rough Lover stuff that are, this is like mostly like 90% my tune kind of thing, and then my Moonflower material, and try to just concisely boil that all down to one voice and one guitar. Sometimes it's an electric guitar with some pedals, sometimes it's my Gibson acoustic and my voice, and that's it. Totally rearranged most of them with like fingerstyle, like Piedmont rolls, folk tradition type stuff, more so than keep true to the record version. I'm a big fan of like the song can wear many coats as long as it's a good tune, as long as it's strong. And
So,
I've often found in this case, like it could just be that I'm back from the road and I've been doing it this way for like 8 weeks. But like some of the Rough Lovers tunes really slap as like a solo acoustic, like finger picking arrangement. So yeah, it's been a fun challenge, and it's just trying to turn all of that into something for a solo performance.
you
Um,
have um you have a deep catalog. I want to very
okay.
clearly state for the listeners what I've listened to and what I can recommend. Actually, I would recommend all of it, but
Oh,
but
thanks.
I mean, we're gonna be friends. I know this at some point, but
Awesome,
I'm
man.
like a fan now because I've been
Oh,
paying attention. Uh, so listeners, here is your Justin Allen Payne homework that I would like you to do. Now there's more, but this is where I've experienced his work. He's got something on Bandcamp called "Come Down: Best of 2020 to 2025," which is apparently a bunch of pandemic songs, kind of like a hodgepodge of songs he wrote at different places, and they're all on the same record. Some of these you will see in other projects.
yeah,
Uh, you have heard Justin mention Moonflower. That is an 8 song LP that he released on May 1st, 2026. It is, well, I don't want, it's not country, and everything that's not country but has an acoustic guitar, the world calls it Americana. I have friends that don't like that label. You could
right.
call this Americana, you could call it alt country, you could call it alt folk. It's good. It's, I mean, I simply put, it's guitar rock, but not like super heavy. And they're just really good songs. And then we were just talking about his band, Rough Lovers. That's like it sounds, Rough and Lovers. They just released a self titled album on March 6th. These songs were co-written with Marshall Facino, like Justin said. And if you like power pop, you're gonna like it. Now it goes in other directions, but if you start and listen to it in order, like you're supposed to, the first taste you're gonna get is a tasty little power pop song. So I haven't gotten farther into your catalog than those three, Justin, and I will at some point. But
Cool. Yeah.
I was
I
not
mean, that's
disappointed
awesome,
with
man.
any of
Thank
it.
you for the
So
endorsement.
yeah, like I mean, I listened to it. It's good. Listeners, I would not steer you wrong. And so what you really should do if you're listening is listen to the albums first and then come to Blind Bob's on Sunday, August 16th. And then you'll be able to see how Justin presents those differently live, right?
Yeah, that is the move. And would love to have you there, It'd be a great Sunday. Sometimes when it comes to booking, Sundays through Wednesdays are the hardest gigs to nail down.
Yeah.
So I'm just really grateful to have, to be back in Dayton, playing at Blind Bob's again. It's one of my favorite Ohio venues, like going back years. And I brought Justin Payne and Company there back in the day. I've done like a solo hit there, I believe, at one point. And this will be probably a solo electric show, if I had to guess. That'd be the
Oh,
way I'd like
nice.
to rock it. Um, and yeah, just trying to channel a lot of the past 10 years of my output into, a concise set. That's been one of my fun challenges with this tour, and having, the catalog that I have. Like, this is really my first opportunity since moving to Nashville and like the pandemic and taking time off from being on the road. This is like my first two proper big routes since then this year. And to actually revisit like a lot of these tunes. Like in a lot of cases, they were like written, jammed on, played out for a few months, recorded, and then moved on to the next record. And, in a lot of ways, they didn't really get the love and like the digging, like the attention, like the deep appreciation that I didn't even really give a lot of those tunes. So it's been a really awesome experience, just kind of like revisiting and relearning and finding new gems inside of these old songs that I kind of have forgotten before I started this tour. It's been really cool and like kind of empowering in a way, just to like be like, man, it's been a long time now. So these songs are, like 10 or more years old, and some of them are out of print and at this point and need to be re-recorded or remastered in order to be digitized. It's a testament to how long I've been doing this, a testament to my commitment to my art and like my passion for this even as I'm getting older. Yeah, and in just a lot of ways, like a fun challenge to boil it down, like I said, to just one voice, one guitar, and like still maintain like the power of the song, like maintain all the good stuff in there.
When you're writing, how do you know the song's done?
Oh man, that's a good question. It's not really an intellectual thing. It's, I guess anymore, it's just kind of a gut feeling I have. And I mean, I'm also kind of like philosophically split on that. Like, I don't, is it ever done? Okay, got that out of the way. But then like more practically, it's a feeling. If the song only needs one chorus and like four verses before it, and that's the poem, that's the statement. Yeah, weird structure. Yeah, unconventional. I'm okay with that. If it does the thing that I initially set out, if it evokes the feeling that from where it started, where the seed was planted initially in me, and I'm satisfied that it's done that, then it's done.
That's good. How long did it take you in Nashville before you felt this is my personal insecurity talking? So I'll
Okay.
rephrase it. Like if I go to Nashville and I go see all these amazing songwriters, I'm gonna be like, man, I gotta step up the quality of my work. I gotta like really bring it. How long was it before you felt that your songs were good enough? That's really kind
Oh
of
man,
the
I mean, I still share that feeling to this day. I sometimes I think one of the biggest things I took away from this is after the initial like cold water, from the bucket shock of, oh my God, I need to step up my game. That kind of just receded to the back of my mind. It's still there. And there will be like moments of doubt and like, man, am I ever going to rise to this occasion? Like these people are so good. And I find a lot of that's just noise, like mental noise. I found that it's really helpful just to like participate in my musical community, go to the other shows even if I'm not playing them, hang out and see my friends play their tunes, be supportive of them as much as I want them to be supportive of me. The open mic night thing pretty regularly, when I'm here, meet ton of new people, realize that you too are a gear in all of that. You're a part of that whole tapestry. And that in and of itself is an honor to have anywhere to play in Nashville, like to have people interested in wanting to hear what you're doing. I mean, kind of a notorious place for like the most indifferent crowds imaginable because of the fact that everyone does this job for the most part and has their own stuff going on, or may or may not be interested in, entertaining that night, whatever. As powerful as that is here, it is even more so powerful that people keep coming and doing it. And there's like staples that stick around. And like one of the biggest lessons I've learned is you just have to kind of work through the feelings of doubt and just keep working at your craft and reminding yourself of like why you are here, like why, because it's an expensive, ridiculous place
yep.
in a lot of ways. And reminding yourself like what the mission is and like how much you've grown since you've set foot. My growth as an artist like exponentially just went straight up almost, I would say, just by virtue of being around so many brilliant people and experiencing their work. And not even in a sense of trying to like reverse engineer. I mean, sure, that happens sometimes if it's super inspiring, but like just to be aware of how different it can be for each artist, how everyone does this, like you said earlier, like writes and performs and does their thing a little differently. That feels good. Like just being exposed to that and regularly participating in that, like being a part of that community just kind of helps the feelings of like, man, I really got to work on my stuff, like kind of subside for the most part. In general, it's like everyone here is shedding and practicing or touring constantly or teaching plus working a job plus shedding constantly. So yeah, there's definitely a bar for the hang, but I think especially at my age and as like a professional, like the threat or like the scariness of that kind of melts to the wayside because you're going to be playing anyway. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're writing and getting out there as much as as I feel like I need to, if you're doing the hustle, you're doing that stuff anyway all the time. And I think that's just basically like, yeah, a lot of real ass musicians in Nashville, and we all practice. That's kind of like just part of the gig, man. But like keeping the focus on like the low stakes. A lot of what you end up doing here, it's really important in the moment, but in the big picture, there's tons of places you can sing your tunes, and the stakes are not life and death. And just getting used to that process, just not stopping, really. The worst thing you could do is stop the momentum, because yeah, that's a bigger problem.
I think my favorite song on Moon Temple is Dead in the Water.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I want you to talk to me about that song.
Okay. Dead in the Water is it's an angry song. Comes from basically the feeling of being like the band dad and like having a lot of love and putting a lot of work into projects, and how most of the times things kind of like fizzle out due I don't know. There's always it's pretty familiar story. Like initial interest, very peaked, very inspired, and then like the more time goes on and the more hard work is required to like meet the deadlines and like meet some of the creative needs of like a project. Yeah, it can get old fast, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been doing this a long time. Maybe it's just because I truly love it. I don't know. Maybe it's all those things. It's just the need to see things through to the end, And so that there are a lot of angry feelings I've had over the years with my projects of just like feeling like I've dumped my entire self into this thing, and then to have it kind of either blow up in my face or just not really ever see its like best potential. And so each verse of that tune takes aim at like a different aspect of like a negative feeling that I have about like creativity and like making these songs, making these records, kind of exercising the bad feelings of the process out into something tangible so I don't carry them with me, so it doesn't poison the well, so to speak.
Are you talking to yourself in this song for most of it? Because that's what it felt like to me until the part about where you're in the cell, and then it didn't feel like you were talking to yourself. But that line, "What about those songs you said you'd write?" I mean, I've told myself that a bunch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is directed at me. And, like the requirements and like the expectations even that we have for ourselves can be stifling, like we can really want something so much that we can work against ourselves, put too much pressure on, too much perfectionism, too much, make up our own reasons to gum up the process. And so that's largely, yeah, the first section's more centered in me, and then the second section is like just a milieu of people and situations I've dumped so much love into. And the third one is essentially like running into just the wall of like, okay, I've been doing this. I'm throwing myself out there as much as I can. I'm grinding. I'm like putting my voice out. I'm sticking my neck out. And if it's not good, if it's not good enough, if it's never going to be for like certain places that I want to try to move or like engage with my work, then yeah, there's some of those feelings of just like, well, fine, lock me away, cut out my tongue. This has all been a foolish endeavor, let's go with the medieval punishment for the fool. That kind of vibe.
I dig it. And I feel like, especially for musicians or other songwriters, some of those feelings are going to be really, I mean, they're understood, right? Like we get it.
Yeah.
All right, so now we get to the two questions that I ask everybody, and
Okay.
hopefully, best case scenario, they make you tell me a story or two,
Okay.
because
Right on.
stories are fun. I mean, you were a history nerd. I'm a history nerd.
Yeah.
History is just stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So the first one, which I did not come up with, I got this from a defunct Dayton podcast. Hat tip to Gym City podcast, and I still miss you. Is what did your childhood smell like?
Ooh, good question. My childhood smelled like lilac bushes and cigarettes and old wood paneling.
Elaborate.
I spent a lot of time as a young guy, probably from around the time I was born to almost 7 years old, spending most of my time with my grandparents, with my mom's parents, and they're from Southern West Virginia. And Kenny, my granddad, my mom's dad, was a coal miner. And then he was in the Navy. Worked for the UAW union at Rockwell for decades and retired. My grandmother was a hairdresser in her home and loved country music, an excellent cook. Uh, and so I would spend a lot of time at their house as a kid. She had a beautiful stand of lilac bushes in her backyard where I'd play a lot of the time and like play t-ball with neighbors, friends, things like that. And she also smoked well, like pretty much throughout most of this time. And they had an old wood burning fireplace blower unit in the finished basement. And so the whole finished basement and the wood paneling was just like, smelled of wood fire and, your typical like early to mid 80s like vibe, as far as like households and like how things go, like aesthetics, what have you. That's where they kept the record player down there. Had just from like contemporary vinyl collecting eyes, just an absolutely diamond collection of classic bluegrass and country records and old rock and roll records. I was just very lucky and very fortunate to be able to grow up in a really supportive environment. They drove me to all my violin string camps in grade school and middle school. They were like, when my parents weren't so into it, they were big proponents of me playing the fiddle as a young guy. And that led me down my entire musical path, like starting from that place of support and love. And so, yeah, I think that's probably what it all mostly smelled like. Yeah, and like engine oil and the old F-150. Like I learned to drive on that car. I drove around in that truck well before, I should have, and just spent a lot of time with my granddad in the garage and with that truck. And so at the time, it just seemed like a pretty normal middle class, upbringing. A lot of those memories stay with me to this day, though. Their support, their love, them seeing something in me that even like my parents and myself at the time didn't really know or see. It's stayed with me an awful lot and has informed a lot of my work and how I've turned out as a guy, as a person.
It's a good story. You
Thanks.
still play fiddle?
A little. That was my main instrument for a long time. I went to college and almost finished a performance degree. That wasn't really for me.
Wow.
Did like a composition thing too. Well, like got in early as a composer in the music school at Bowling Green State University. Had some amazing mentors in both programs, honestly, in the violin and the composition program. Just at the end of the day, like that academic side of classical music and that kind of expression wasn't like a good match for me. I'm more wayward. I'm bookish, but I also love to get out and in there and just live my life out in the world. And it's a lot more routine and practicing repertoire that goes into that. And so I just eventually transitioned over and got a history degree. A lot of those experiences, it kind of taught me along the way that it's like life is the way I like to live my life isn't just like one note. I like the tapestry to be as varied and as diverse and as wild as I can possibly cram it in. Like get this one time around. I want to have as much experience and do as much as I can in music as possible. So yeah, I played fiddle on a friend's track. My friend Zach Wilson, really good songwriter here, plays with some cool bands. He's got like a backlog right now with Devil's Tower Records, like 30 plus, maybe 40 some songs that he's recorded and hasn't released. And
Whoa.
I played fiddle on like a handful of those. And yeah, he's another exceptional Ohio cat that came down a little before I did to Nashville. We've toured together the Midwest and New England. So I'll occasionally bust out the fiddle. It's not my primary focus anymore, though. I mean, if a song fits it, I'll definitely start there. And same with piano or guitar. I'm not really limited to, how the vibe is set by the instrument. That kind of matters a lot to me. And if the idea comes as a fiddle thing first, that's where I'll start. But professionally, not as much as I used to.
Surely, having a solid base of music theory from a young age and being
Mhm.
able to sight read has to help you as a musician even today, even if
Oh yeah.
those aren't skills that you're using when you're writing a rock song.
Oh yeah. I mean, I find both skills come up all the time in my travels and in my work, especially studio work here. Just the ability to like understand the structure, understand the changes like very quickly, usually within a couple hours, have the whole thing tracked. I mean, in order to work that efficiently, it really helps to have a really strong bedrock in ear training, deep listening, music theory, all that, that comes with the more formal training, in the field. Sight reading's a big one. I find like a lot of guitar players don't read, which is crazy to me. They're great players. I mean, their ears are impeccable as a result, So I look at it as like all these different skill sets that all kind of culminate in the same direction. It definitely helps. There are tools I pull out all the time. Want to reharmonize something and play it in a different key, and you're just doing it on the fly. That's really strong stuff to know.
All right, so last question, which I ask everyone, and I did make this up myself. I want you, Justin, to think back as far as you can to your childhood. What is the first song you can remember hearing?
Oh, yeah. Okay. That is probably going to be Elvira by the Oak Ridge Boys.
I don't even know
Uh,
that one. Talk
there's
about it.
literally, it's an early 80s gem of like Nashville country. They are a vocal band, great harmonies. It's kind of a country rocker about a girl named Elvira. And there's a Polaroid of me somewhere in a photo album. I think my mom has it somewhere at their house in North Carolina. But I'm in like a diaper. I'm in like a Pampers. I'm like 2 years old. I got like a Weeble Wobble I'm singing into in front of these speakers, and that's the song I'm singing. I was just obsessed with Elvira as a really young guy, and
That
that's
sounds
the
like an
story
album
they always
cover.
told me. So,
That sounds like an
um,
album cover photo.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's class. Definitely epitomizes that era too of Nashville, which now I just find crazy fascinating living here, all these years later, trying to like understand and reverse engineer what that whole scene and that all was about, how they did their recordings, I'm a big music nerd too. I like to know all the stuff. But yeah, like short answer, yeah, probably Elvira, Oak
Cool.
Ridge Boys. It's definitely been documented on a photograph. I think it was like the first time I ever like walked around and sang all day. Although my tastes have definitely like split and varied through adulthood. Like I'm into all sorts of stuff. Big jazz guy. I love jazz.
Me too. I
Big.
uh I get intimidated. Like when I go see really good jazz, I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. Like I'd love to go watch it, but like listening to it, I'd rather go see it than listen to it. But I do love jazz.
Yeah, those cats, man. Like that life. That is a level of dedication and like discipline to the instrument and just like absolute. You give so much of yourself to your instrument with that art form. And also like there's that side of it that really fascinates and inspires me, but also there's like this really loose kind of carefree take on the stakes, like you get up there, you do the hang, the tunes, you cover the musical bases as well as you can. um, as far as like how it informs like structured improvisation, that's probably the biggest thing that fascinates me about all of it, is how to turn those moments on their ear, just because you have studied the tune upside down, left and right, the changes, the reharm of the changes, you have your own ideas you want to bring to the table in that moment, and then like it all kind of melts away in that moment, all the training. It's really a great example that inspires me the most about live jazz is like it seems like all the training and practice kind of just crystallizes into like yourself, your identity as
Hmm.
your voice as a musician. And the closest we get to like a conversation, it's one of the things about songwriting that I feel kind of limiting is it's like you're tied to all these narratives that you've created or that you're trying to breathe life into other people's narratives. And that's, absolutely great. And I love that. And I've staked a lot of my life on just that, that part of the game. But the kind of low key jealousy of just being able to fly, with no instruments, you fly by the seat of your pants, so to speak. Um, I really get off on that. That's like I think elite level musicianship.
It truly is. And I'm not going to tell the story with the recording rolling. Sorry, listeners, this is going to be for me and Justin. But afterwards, I have a story to tell you that's related. So let's recap and invite people to the show.
Sure.
You are Justin Allen Payne.
Yep.
You're gonna come to Dayton, Ohio, and you're gonna play Blind Bob's on
Yes,
Fifth
sir.
Street on Sunday, August 16th,
Yep.
and it will cost the listeners $10 to get in.
Yep.
and you're going to play them wonderful songs on your electric guitar. Did I leave anything out?
No, it's gonna be a solo electric set. I'll be playing songs from my new record, Moonflower. I'll be playing some Rough Lovers tunes. I'm gonna be playing some older Justin Payne and Company songs, some of which are like out of print now, and this is like the only way you can hear them. Spanning everything from like alt country, Americana leaning stuff to like neo folk to some weird indie pop vibes. I kind of put the whole focus on the words, and I sing my ass off. That's kind of the whole shtick, you know.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm excited. I haven't been to Blind Bob's. I haven't been back to Dayton in probably 8.5, 9 years. I'm excited to finally get back to the Ottawa district, I believe. Yeah, rock out Blind Bob's once again. I'm looking forward to playing with you. And
I didn't actually say this yet on the podcast,
act, so
but
this
I
is
am
my
on that
first
bill.
hearing about it.
Yeah, I said that before we hit the recording button, but yeah, listeners, I'm opening that show.
Yeah.
But you really want to see
Yeah.
Justin. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you in person on the 16th.
Yeah, right on, man. Thank you so much for having me. This has been great. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much to Justin Allen Payne for taking his time to talk to me, and I am so glad that I've met him virtually. I will meet him in person on Sunday, August 16th at Blind Bob's, and I invite you, dear listener, if you are in the Dayton area, to come to the show and see this wonderful songwriter play songs. Dear listener, thank you for listening. If you would like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, that'd be super cool with me, you know? I'll be back soon with another episode.